Here, and now the mics are hot because the mics weren't hot. There we go. That's the way Nick does it. So he likes to
just roll into it.
Yeah. Okay. So with the mic too, if you could like just keep it up yonder about
about 6 inches away.
Cool. All right. So the 49ers. What's with that?
Oh, they're my jam. It's my team. I grew up in Northern California. I think previously in our conversations I was stating that I grew up just not too far away from where they used to have training camp outside of Rockland, California. So I grew up, my mom used to take us to training camps and OTAs and just have a blast. And when you get to meet some of the greats, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott, like all the greats from the past, you're hooked. Like that's your team. But yeah, it's been a labor of love, especially the last couple of years with them, getting to that pinnacle, reaching the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden just, get beat out in the last few minutes, and it's rough. But yeah, I like our chances this season. I really look forward to, kind of what's going on, some tragedies, I was telling you a minute ago, like just having our, one of our rookie wide receivers, that got shot.
Yeah.
He was doing a team signing and came out and somebody tried to rob him, a 17-year-old kid in San Francisco. So it's kind of crazy.
What an idiot.
I know. It's crazy. It's like, what do you do? Like, why are you going to try to rob somebody, just to steal their watch? It's like, come on.
And an NFL player of all people.
Well, he probably didn't even realize he was an NFL player. I mean, being a rookie, you're not going to have security around you. At least, I would think you're not going to have security around you. You're coming out of a signing, or you're, whatever. You're just trying to live day-to-day life, right? You're still trying to grasp your mind around what's happening in your life. And then all of a sudden, this 17-year-old kid pulls up on you. It's like, I couldn't imagine that. But
that was in San Francisco?
That was.
That's San Francisco for you.
That used to be one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, it's sad how it's gone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've last time I went down there, Pier 39 is one of my favorite places to go to. You get to see the Golden Gate Bridge and the Fisherman's Wharf right there, and there was feces on the ground.
Yeah.
There was needles around the parking lot, and I told my wife, I said, I absolutely will never come back here. Like, this is not the place that it used to be when I was growing up. That we used to go to so often. So, but yeah, man, like that's, football life and everything else. But, I grew up in kind of Northern California and joined the military right after that. And then, that's what got me up here. So what about you?
Oh, well, nothing much has been going. Well, a lot of things have been going on. Personally, for me, I've been working on my book. So when I was in the Marines in Afghanistan, I journaled every day. My experience in Sangin in the Helmand Province, and I wrote a book, and I'm making it to audiobook, and so that'll be released September 11th will be part 1, part 2 will be October 15th, and part 3 will be on Veterans Day. And that's been a lot of hard work for me because, parts 1 and 2 were difficult. I've spent the last 9 months on it.
Yeah.
Just processing it, going through everything that, trying to refine it, clean up all the jargon, and make it more palatable for civilians.
That non-military-esque type. Yeah. Too many acronyms and everything. And, by the way, this about me as well. I'm retired Air Force. Mm-hmm. And we have language that other people and they don't understand and they don't get. And it's kind of cool. Well, let me ask you this about your military career. When did you serve?
So I was in from 2003 until 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And thank you for your service.
No, thank you for your service.
Thanks.
But yeah, I was active duty from, it's kind of funny, I joined July 11th, 2001 is when I went to basic training. So I literally joined the military 2 months before September 11th.
Damn.
And I graduated from basic training. I was actually in tech school for the enlisted aircrew undergraduate course when September 11th happened. And I still remember this day, our instructor coming in and just wide-eyed. He was white as a ghost. It's like, what's going on? What happened? And so, yeah, I served from there all the way up till June of 2015 until I was medically retired. But, good career. Absolutely loved it. Miss my guys. People, we don't talk about the camaraderie enough, I think. The love that we share for our fellows, airmen in my case,
Mm-hmm.
the Marines, whatever, everybody calls each other. But, yeah, I miss that, Well, what about you? Like, do you miss, what's the thing that you miss the most about it? What's the things that you don't like about it?
Yeah. So I miss the Marines. I don't miss the Marine Corps, but
Right.
I miss the Marines. I miss certain aspects of that culture,
Yeah.
such as the birthday balls. What I don't miss is, I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, it's cool is like going to ranges and shoot, but then you got to clean the weapons.
Right.
And then like the whole following week is just cleaning your rifles at the armory. But I don't miss the hurry up and wait. I don't miss the stand around and why are we still here? We already finished everything we needed to do today, kind of thing. Oh,
The just
here.
because.
Yeah, just because.
Yeah.
And there's things I miss about it, and then there's things that I'm happy that I'm out of that level of stress, and I didn't realize how much stress institutionally was there, just on a day-to-day life, whether it's making sure your uniform is squared away, or someone's gonna yell at you.
Oh, that's always rough.
Yeah, or
Shining your boots, like making sure every crease was straight. And these days, I don't even know if you know this or not, they don't even do that anymore.
yeah,
They got these suede boots that they don't even shine. They got uniforms that, they can't even put spray starch on.
yeah.
Like mine was crisp as a board back in the day.
Yeah, that, and especially then in 2001, because it really shifted uniforms quickly. And yeah, you're right. And they basically wear pajamas. But it's that anxiety of, oh, I don't have that uniform item. Like, oh God, I don't have that stupid tie clasp.
Yeah, right.
And I got to go to a ball in Vegas.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? There's those levels of anxiety that I don't miss, but then there's stuff that I do. But what about you? I'm sure you've had quite an interesting career.
Yeah, actually, I started out as, well, I was going for aircrew. I wanted to be a boom operator, and then the military.
What's the boom? Is that the thing that?
So on the in-flight refuelers, the KC-135s and the KC-10s, back then it was the air refueling boom is the refueling receptacle that would drop down from the rear of the aircraft, and a receiver aircraft would come up and connect in flight and then transfer fuel from the tanker to the receiver. I think the best way to describe it is, just longevity of the fighter aircraft. They can extend their mission. They can, there's a lot more they can do in the air, and they're not having to, hey, I'm out of fuel, or, I can only carry 1,900 pounds, when you got a tanker that can carry 200,000 pounds and be up there and just flying a refueling track and say, okay, when you need fuel, go get it, and then come back down and join the fight type of deal. But yeah, career-wise, it was good. I was an aircraft mechanic. After that, graduated and tech school. I actually, it's kind of funny. I'd gotten a good bit of trouble in the beginning of my military career. It was a transition, right? You're going from living with your parents to living completely on your own. You don't have anybody around you to take care of your finances, tell you where, you don't have mom to wash your clothes. You don't have any of that. So and for me, I joined at 17. I wasn't even, I think, if I remember right, I was I think when I graduated basic training, then I turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned 18, I think while I was in tech school, if I remember correct. Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, just to think of, I was the youngest kid, joining the military at that time. But career-wise, it was good. A lot of really good friends. I loved aircraft maintenance because I've always had that mechanical background. But that was also the one thing later on in my career is I should have never kind of turned that hobby into a full-time job, right? Because it can burn you out. And then you lose that sense of your, fulfillment in your hobby type of deal. And that's kind of what happened there. But I mean, career-wise, great. I've traveled the world. I was a flying aircraft mechanic for a while. I did quality assurance. I was an anti-terrorism officer at a squadron level. It was cool. It was a lot of fun, and for me, I missed the people, right? The Air Force was going in such a different direction from my morals and my values and what I hold dear in my life to literally, I didn't know if I would be able to even survive anymore in it, because you couldn't just tell kids like, hey, go do this. You had to start being really nice and PC, we used to call it, right? But yeah, it was I love traveling the world. That was the one thing that the Air Force did to me, is instill, I got bit by the travel bug, and I love traveling, and I love enjoying, new experiences and just going to different countries and just having fun. That's what I miss.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, after that, I retired in 2015, worked for somebody for about 3 months, and nope. Started, I kind of knew early on that I was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Like, I've always thought about business. I've always thought about, what I can and can't do. My wife and I, we weren't married at the time yet, but we bought a coffee shop, and on base, actually. So cool. It was kind of cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it was at the base hospital, and it was cool because a lot of my old airmen and my coworkers and everything else would still come by and visit me all the time, or anytime they had to, go to the hospital or on base or go get checkups or whatever else. Like, they would come out and they would just talk and just BS. And, I never lost kind of that sense of purpose afterwards, because I still had some of my airmen where they would come over and I'd be like, hey, I need help with something. Well, what is it, man? Like, oh, I got a performance report to write. And anybody who's done a performance report in the military knows how crazy that can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bullet style. Yeah. So I'd help them write their yearly performance reports. I would help them out, just to try to mentor them and still guide them. So that was really cool. After that, or I should say during that time, I started coaching, coaching kids, and still coach to this day. Love football, obviously, 49ers,
Oh, yeah.
My team, ain't never getting away from them. But, we started, to coach soccer, and I started coaching baseball, and I started coaching basketball, and I started coaching, all the sports that I kind of played growing up, and it was just, it was a blast. But then it's funny because I actually coached the city manager's kid.
Mm.
And when I coached his kid, he's like, hey, we potentially have a spot on the planning commission with the city for somebody who's, actively involved in the community. So yeah, I started doing that, and then next thing I know, I'm the chair planning commissioner of the city. Yeah. And then after that, I was like, hey, this is just an advisory role. I don't have any say in anything. So, hey, election's coming up for city council members. What are you going to do? Like, oh, it's a great opportunity. I think I'll run. And then I ended up winning. One of the incumbent at the time was a firefighter that, I actually had met a few times, and, I respected them a lot. But it's like, well, I need to run because I think the city can go in a better direction. And then, I'd been on city council for, I started in 2016. And, being at it for 8 years now, it's been great. And then 2 years ago, I actually, just decided, hey, I think I want, I want to lead. I want to lead the city. You know, I think I'm in a position to where, you know, I see what our needs are, where we can go, the direction, and I think that I can lead the city in a way that's healthy, you know. But I wanted to bring in more communication. I wanted to bring in, you know, talk to the rest of the city council, talk to the people. You know, I always kind of go back to, is this because of a vote of the people or not? You know, did they make the decision, or are we? You know, are we just up here as elected officials saying, hey, I'm going to do this? Or is this, hey, are we truly reaching out to the community and have our thumb on the pulse of what's going on? You know, so I kind of, it's kind of crazy the way it went, because you look at me in my military career, everybody's like, I can't believe you're the mayor. I can't believe you're at that position within the city. And I don't even look at it like that. I take the leadership pyramid and I flip it upside down. Like, I'm the least important person. Like, I'm called, you know, to that position to be the biggest servant, and to not, you know, to not let my pride or, you know, my will or my wants get in the way of the decision making within the city. So yeah, like it's been a crazy career. And previously we spoke about, my wife and I are also business owners. We own a company called Casera Homes. That's a brand new development in our life. We also started a consulting business called Higher Level Consultants, which is, you know, I think that's where my joy is going to come from, because I absolutely love to mentor. I love just being actively involved with other business owners and figuring out game plans and you know, actively guiding, you know. And but also a lot of that is those younger entrepreneurs that are going to be those young business owners, or the people that don't even know that they can do it. They don't know, hey, I can go get an LLC for a couple $100s, you know. Oh, I don't need necessarily an accountant. I just need a really good tracking system within a spreadsheet to keep track of all my finances within the company, you know, initially, right? And then you grow into, you know, those other aspects. So yeah, man, like, it's been great, and it's been scary, and it's been, you know, new to me, a lot of it, but I'm a risk taker. Like, at the end of the day, it's what I do. I have fun. You know, no matter what my wife and I do, we try to have a good time in it.
Leadership. Yeah. That's one thing I miss that you're bringing to the table there at Airway Heights, is leadership. That's one thing that our nation as a whole tends to not know.
Lack a lot of right now.
Like, they can't define that. What is a leader? Well,
if you think about it, it's leader and direction, right? Because I can lead anybody. But where am I leading them to, right? It was funny when I was in my master's program for college. I took a servant leadership course, and kind of, you know, flipped me on my head of, you know, and one of our professors always would say, it's like, hey, you know, you got a bus filled with people, right? You're going from point A to where? You know, you got to find that point B. And then throughout your journey of getting from point A to point B, you're going to have people that get off the bus, and you have people that get on the bus, you know. And I forgot the author. It's actually a book that we had, you know, within the program, but it completely changed my mentality and the way that I thought about it. You know, it's like, oh yeah, like, I'm not sitting here striving to keep everybody on the bus, because some people naturally in their lives are going to want to get off. They're going to want to get on, you know, type of deal. But for me, it's, you know, direction and leadership. And yeah, I agree with you on that. Military, you know what you're doing. Like, you have an objective. Like, you're reaching, like, your whole, you know, from sun up to sundown, or while you're at work, while you're on duty, it's like you're going after that goal. You're going after, you know, that. For me, it was, hey, I need to get this aircraft back in the air, right? You know, what was it for you?
You know, my thought is, every day just standing in formation and watching incredible leaders that I was completely taking for granted. Some were shit, you know, but some were good, amazing quality leaders, and they would sit and they would talk to us and give us all this life advice And my only thought was, God, won't you shut up so I get on Liberty now? Like,
right.
But yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
That in Africa they call it Ubuntu. But it's I and you and me and we are because of we.
Yeah.
So everybody is a piece of somebody else. And so you are a reflection of all those leaders that stood before you.
Oh, absolutely. Like I still talk so Craig DuBose was one of my chiefs that I really, really look up to. And, you know, he never led by, you know, just demanding his will, right? He always, you know, what's the best thing for the Air Force first off, you know, what's for the mission, for the goal, for what we're doing, but then it's what's best for the people, you know, for those around us. And, you know, I will never forget that. You know, there were times where I would watch a chief yell at officers to protect his guys.
It's motivating.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, like you're standing up to people above you for us. Like, and who am I type of deal. But again, it's that leadership pyramid model, you know, you're up here, you know, as the leader, it's like flip it upside down. You are now the least important person. You're called to serve everybody else. And now those least important people that are on the bottom of the pyramid are actually up top. And when you start to flip your mentality like that and you start to realize it's about the people, you know, it's about them. They have families, they have dreams, they have goals, they have this. You know, I carry that into my business now. It's like I want my employees, I want the people that work around me to succeed and fulfill their goals and their dreams as well. And it's like, yeah, so that's one of the coolest things from the military that, you know, that you can take away. But I know there's some other things that you got out of it that you would, yeah, I mean.
Oh, yeah. When it comes to leadership or just being around individuals that could inspire in others and eager to want, that's something that's, well, you know, let me go back. I have found in my adjustment to civilian life that people don't appreciate showing up out of nowhere. And I'm thinking, that's a leadership trait.
Yeah, right.
And so now I'm thinking, should I apologize for that? So I start to come to these thoughts in my mind, like, should I apologize for just showing up out of nowhere? I'm like, you know what? I probably shouldn't do it because I'm not, they aren't, you know, they don't see it that way. So these are like some sort of social issues that I've dealt with, like life's a social dance and trying to mingle back in with civilians. You know, it's a different thing to when you go and you approach somebody and you freaking knife hand them and you yell at them. They don't appreciate that at all.
No, I don't think I ever appreciated that, even when I was in.
Yeah, but finding ways to adapt, but getting out of the military and into the civilian world, what I see in a lot of people, especially Americans, is a lot of insecurity, which
absolutely.
is really strange to me, because going to, and we're gonna have to talk about all the places you've been to too, because traveling's cool, is like going to Thailand and Singapore and in Iraq and Afghanistan, all these in Kuwait, and all these places where people are not Americans, and they have a certain level of confidence, and life is a certain rhythm to them that they don't. That it's got its own stressors, but it's not as existentially bad as here in America. And I come here and I think it just blew my mind during, like, first off during COVID, it was like, oh. Now we see how quick people are to just give up their rights and put on a mask.
Oh, yeah. So. No, and I mean, yeah, some of the places I've been to, Qatar, UAE, you know, I traveled around the Pacific Rim, you know, but I've been traveling the Pacific Rim. My mom and my stepdad were actually DOD civilians over in Okinawa, and they were stationed in the Kwajalein, the Marshall Islands, and elsewhere. So growing up, like, I actually got a chance to travel early on. And but yeah, military wise, you know, UAE, Qatar, Kyrgyzstan, all over Europe. I love Europe. I've probably been to London 30 times, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and going over, it's kind of funny. Remember, all the kids were going after the musicals for Hamilton, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a big musical, and I'm like telling my kids, like, oh, I've been there. I've been to that spot. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, I've been there. I've been to Big Ben. I've been to a lot of the castles and where the kings and queens have had even tragic events. All the way through that historical kind of I mean, just the history behind England and London and the royal family, and yeah, it's cool to see them get involved with that sort of stuff too. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The military, the transition of life is a gut punch, to say the least, right? Because we're so structured, everything is this way, right? And we get used to having that, and then all of a sudden it's not. And civilians, those that employed outside the military, they don't have that same mentality. They're not screamed at if they're 3 minutes late.
Yeah.
They're not told, hey, if you're 15 minutes, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, type of deal. Like we had that instilled in us. And yeah, like it took me a while too to adjust to the economic, or employment culture of the civilian sector. But again, you brought up a good point earlier, political climate, right? That identity and everything else. Like, that's what we need to get back to, is we need to get back to feeling proud to be American, right? We need to be proud, and I'm not saying it to be the ethnocentric, like thinking we're better than anybody else, but we need to be damn proud of who we are, right? Of we're a melting pot of cultures that have made stuff work, and people these days, they're so they want to force their belief down your throat. They want to force everything, just throw it at you. And it's like, hey, like, I still have my personal beliefs. Like, the way I was raised, my background, it molded me into thinking the way that I think now. Like, stop. Like, I don't need what you have. I respect you, but I put boundaries up in my life as well because of individuals that don't share the same even religious view as us, or the same faith, or political views. Like, I tell people all the time, like, I'm a conservative Christian, and they instantly think that I'm so far right that it's like, no, guys, like, I believe in the Federalist Papers. Like, I believe in what the founding fathers were truly trying to get across. And that's something that I think today it's identity, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, identity, very much.
Yeah.
You see it in the way people color their hair, in the way they do this cosplay. I see it in young American men taking on this whole Viking cosplay persona thing, talking about Valhalla and all this stuff. And I noticed when that first came, that was from the show Vikings.
Yeah.
Straight up, with Ragnar Rothbrok and all that stuff.
Right.
With I think it was History Channel. History Channel. Thank God they made a good series,
Right.
for once. But yeah, but I've noticed that, like, or if it's not that, they'll adopt, even civilians, they'll adopt the military-esque style.
Yeah.
They think like that's what a man is, or that they don't know what a male is. They don't have like ceremonies.
Oh yeah, the identity crisis for gender identity, for everything. I mean, yeah, and I mean, where did we ever get so far away from being proud, of just being an individual, right? It's okay to be separate. Like, I don't have to agree with you. Like, I don't have to believe in what you believe in. I don't have to, like, some of my best friends, I don't agree with probably 20%, 30%, even 50% of what they say sometimes. But I don't look at them for, what they believe. I look at them like, are you a good and genuine person to me, to my family? Like, do you love my kids? Do you respect, my relationship between my wife and I. Like, what is it that, drives the kind of, us coming together as friends, as family, as community, as, all the way through. And it's like, I think we lost the respect of each other. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things is we lost, the respect for individuality.
Yeah.
And it sucks because, politically, look at what we're going through right now. Like, people hate Kamala Harris. They hate Trump. They hate, everybody up there. It's like, man, can we just agree that, not one of these people are, the savior of a nation, mm-hmm. and just stop getting away from, splitting an aisle to the left and to the right and come back to the middle, mm-hmm. and say, hey, like my deputy mayor, she is, she's a counselor and she has a lot of beliefs that, I don't, but I so respect her mentality and her, her questioning of stuff and the way that she views things. Like, if I didn't, and I just, was passive towards everything that she said, it's like, what type of leader would I be, right? I take in everything that they say, everything, and I'm like, there's even sometimes where my view is one thing, and then somebody will say something, I'll internalize it and just like, oh man, like I never seen it from that point of view, or I never thought about it that way, right? And this could be as far as the identity crisis, right? Is, people are, not everybody is like me, right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody is like them, is like they or like anybody, right? You are who you are, type of deal. But yeah, we lost respect for each other, I mm-hmm. think. And what do you think? Like, yeah. where have we gone awry?
That's tough. I think I can speak on little bits and pieces, yeah. but I don't have a one-size-fits-all solution. But
absolutely,
I think people seek transformative experiences.
Yeah,
and I think things like boot camp are a transformative experience. Going to a very difficult school and passing it is transformative. Same to the point where college is supposed to be transformative.
Yeah,
supposed to be. And then I think, man, if it wasn't for the GI Bill paying for my school, I would have felt so cheated if I would have had to pay for it all by myself. But I'm happy for my education. I'm not going to knock that. But yes, these transformative experiences that cause people to change the person that they were.
Yeah.
Slightly. Just one shade of difference.
Just tweaks you a little bit.
Yes. And it gives them that little bit of confidence. That slow inoculation to violence, as some people call it, or slow inoculation to life. Whether it's like jujitsu is a slow inoculation to violence. Every day you're just getting your ass beat.
Yeah, right.
And then over time you're like, I've been beat up a lot in this position, so I know what to do and calm down and throw the person over.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people seek. What I also think is strange about America is adults have this sense in their mind like, oh, I'm an adult now. I should not do things that kids do. Like, oh, get out and throw a ball with a kid. Or run plays. Be a coach.
Yeah.
These are simple things. And you see all those other parents that just drop off their kids to you. Be like, here, be the dad I should be.
Yeah.
You see that all the time.
No, and we do. And I think that there's that fine line between what I call helicopter parents, mm-hmm. Those that are always, kind of overbearing, and those that are actively involved. And yeah, I would totally agree with that. With kids, what they need, they need us, right? They need not just their parents, but they need positive role models, be it male, be it female, be it, whatever they choose, right? And I think the problem is we started taking on to where the wrong is right and right is wrong type of deal, right? And not to say that, you know, I don't get into, you know, arguments of sexuality and everything else, or, you know, gender, because of my belief. Like, literally, it's, no, there's this and this, you know, because it was created that way. But I, you know, go down even into the science of it. Like, you can only procreate with this, right? With these things happen. And to say that, you know, it's funny because I was talking about it with my daughter one time, and she's like, well, what about, you know, a woman who can't get pregnant? Is she any less of a woman? It's like, no, absolutely not. Like, if anything else, what's going on in her life is personal to her, but that doesn't make her any less of a person, right? She's not any less than anybody else because, you know, she couldn't have a baby or this or this. And I think that that's where, you know, we need to start coming back together on, is just saying that people are valued and that, you know, they should be loved and respected, right? And that's where we got completely away from, is the love and respect of each other, you know. But just to respect somebody, that's mutual, right? Like, you got to respect me as well as I respect you, and you got to not push your, you know, your thoughts on me that I don't like, as well as, you know, I shouldn't push, you know, what I want onto you, type of deal. And the nation has forgot there's a two-way street. You know, they want to go down that one-way path, right? And I mean, look at what just happened the other day in Georgia, right? School shooting, high school. I haven't read the details on it. I haven't looked it up, but, you know, it's tragic and it's sad. And, you know, people lost their lives. That's the tragedy, right? Now, the surrounding factors of that was their mental health issues. You know, is there a issue to where, you know, we need to start looking at more gun control? I don't know, right? Like, I haven't looked into a whole lot. But at the same time, people automatically just want to go for one hard-nosed thing and say, no, we need this because this happens. Like, hey, guys, I'll tell you the truth. Like, in the 90s, my high school that I went to later on got shot at. I was in elementary school at the back gate eating orange creamsicles, cleaning up trash on the back gate of high school, when as a, you know, elementary school student, I heard pop, pop, pop. You know, I heard gunshots. Look it up. It's Lyndhurst High School. You know, Lyndhurst High School in Northern California, and the guy's name was Eric Houston. They even made a movie about it. Like, I was there. You know, I seen some of my cousin's friends got killed that day. And
holy shit, this is really interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't see, you know, everybody at that area just screaming for more gun control. It's like, what was going on with him, you know, with the person? Like, what surrounding factors? Was there any way to tell that, you know, this could have happened? And it's like, you know, so I think there's always, you know, those people that are like, want to just streamline and say, we just need to ban everything. And the other people are like, whoa, hold up. Like, before you take away my rights, before you take away something from me that I enjoyed doing, or that I, you know, partake in myself, like free speech. I love having a voice and having a say in stuff. But that doesn't allow me to get disrespectful with you. You know, if I told somebody to F off and, you know, I was just a completely mad and disrespectful person, you probably wouldn't want to be around me, right? And that's the stuff that we have gotten, you know, so far outside of the norm on, is just the dignity and respect of the individual and the person. But, I mean, we could probably talk about that for hours, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, when you were talking, I thought about, I don't know if you thought about this. How the hell did that dude get a freaking rifle in to take a shot at Donald Trump?
I don't know. Because usually, like, every time I've ever been around a presidential, you know, every time the presidents come in and we've seen them and everything else, that security is so tight. Like, I don't understand it. I think that there can be failures, right? Nobody's going to be perfect, but at what point was there a failure, then another, and then it just compounded to, oh crap, now we have, you know, a situation that happened, it's, I mean, if you think about it, when I was an anti-terrorism officer, we always used to just look at the vulnerabilities, right? Like, I walk into a building, I'm going to look for every possible entry, exit, this. Like, I'm going to look at every vulnerability that we have, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to, and I hate to think like a terrorist, right? But if I was going to go do something, if I was going to go shoot something up, if I was going to go do, this is exactly what I would do, X, Y, and Z. So, like, I have no idea how that happened. Like, there's no feasible way in my mind that should have, taken place.
Complacency, man. Complacency.
Like, I mean, us being prior military, like, you're trained, like, to look at vulnerabilities, right? Like, that, I think that's another thing that the military, like, there's a reason why all the vets sit in the back of a restaurant with their eyes specifically on the entry and exit points of the room, right? That's what we're taught. But yeah, when I look at situations like that, it's just mind-boggling. It's like, how? So, I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I think he buried. Right. He was a local.
Let's do it.
He was a local. I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah, right.
So he lived about an hour away from the fairgrounds.
Okay.
He must have.
So he probably gone there as a kid.
He probably gone there as a kid. He probably even volunteered. Probably had a pig in the fair, some shit like that.
Right.
He probably knew a perfect spot. Dig a little hole by a bush, put your rifle in it. Board, dirt.
Whatever,
unless they specifically step right there, they're never gonna know.
Yeah.
And that's how. And then ladder next to the thing, put it up.
Yeah, construction's going on.
That's my only thought. It was nuts. Is like people are up there. I mean,
I know. Like, I don't get it, because okay, so I've gone through enough, intel briefings in my life to know that terrorists are ballsy, right? Anybody who does an act that vicious against somebody else, I mean, in my mind, come on, that's a terrorist, either domestic or not, and it's crazy to me to think about, like, if you want to hurt somebody that bad. I've never had that bone in my body. I've always been, had that golden heart kind of protective nature that I just want to love on everybody. I don't want to see anybody hurting. Like, if I see you crying, I want to come give you a hug type of deal, right? I don't get people like that. And it's not to say that, we're not masculine or anything else. We can't be, the rough and tumble types, but it's like, yeah, I don't get it. And, when I look at situations like that, it's kind of funny. My kids and I talk about this all the time, right? So it's not funny in the situations that happen, but it's funny.
It's situational awareness to talk about it, though.
Yeah, the topics that come up in my household are always interesting. And we were talking about this the other day, and we watched a video. I forgot what, it was either on Netflix or, Amazon or something like that, that was about JFK and the entire Kennedy family. It's like, man, Jack died, John died, Bobby died, like that, like every way down. It's like, people had the viciousness enough to dislike somebody enough to put a bullet in them. It's like, that's crazy. I still don't get it. I still don't get overseas, like, all the stuff that we've gone through. Like, why? Like, and then I start looking at it. I got buddies of mine who, are, of that Middle Eastern descent and everything else. It's like, hey, you're kind of in our country. Like, you're kind of doing this to our people. You're trying to force your way into, our oil or our this, or, and I started thinking about it. I was like, I've never thought about it like that. Literally have never thought to think about it from any other point of view than ours, as Americans, right? As the world police and protectors, like, oh, you're just bad, right? You're a bad actor, so you should be annihilated type deal. That, I think that a lot of the world thinks American mentality is. Not saying we are, I've never thought like that, and I don't understand people that do think like that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's interesting to see, like, where we've gone so awry, where we've kind of been one side of the fence or the other. And I just, I hate to ramble on here, but yeah, like it's just mind blowing to me about all these situations. I mean, what other situations can you think? Like, we could probably talk about that forever too.
My next thought I was thinking about is how, it directly relates to you. And I just finished this blog for the GOP, and it was about all this I pulled from the Secretary of State's website. Only 16% of the registered voters vote.
Oh, yeah.
This is awful. Mind-boggling. This is below the Pareto principle. That means by you choosing not to vote, you are literally giving yourself up, your freedom and future up to a very few people that are high propensity voters to begin with. And some of them may not be the most rationalist of voters to begin with.
Absolutely.
And what I thought, and looking at the data, I was like, oh man, if Reichert got elected over Semi Bird, that means there is significantly more, and there's significantly more conservatives on the west side of the state than there is the east side of the state. And if they ever just woke up and voted, the state would be red.
I think most states would be, right? Mm-hmm. Well, but here's the deal too. Like, you got to think about demographics, right? Where people live and their experiences, kind of what you were talking about earlier. And I don't want to go blue and red. I want to go purple, right? Like, I want a good mix of both ideologies and points of view, because that's the only time that we truly get stuff solved. And I mean, that's kind of the problem that we have now is, we are so quick to go to our thoughts and our direction, and we get defensive about it, right? And we shouldn't. Like, I should be able to state my case and argue my point. Let's have a debate. Let's talk, type of deal. But yeah, I agree with you. There's more people that I feel that I run into on a normal basis that are, share probably more of a conservative ideology or, point of view on something. But that's not to say that, like, I have liberal point of views, right? Even being a conservative, like, there's things that I look at from, the left, and I'm like, I absolutely agree with that. I think healthcare should be cheap. I think that there should be, mandates in place to where if I need to go have a surgery, it's not going to break my entire family, right? It's not going to cause me to go in so much critical debt that I can't survive, or I have to give up my home. Like, yeah, so I think that there's, again, people are so far one direction or another that they just don't, like, when are we going to come back to the middle?
Yeah.
Right? And when are we going to go back to the just being sensible?
Yeah. What I've been seeing is just voters are lazy. People are so lazy. It's hard just to get people to vote. And
they think their opinion doesn't matter.
That's true. They think their opinion doesn't matter, and they aren't informed voters. Yeah. Because if they were informed, they would know how very few people are actually voting. And what has created now is it's created such a chaos that voting in elections now boil down to how many old people can we manipulate to think that if they don't vote, there will be a civil war.
Yeah.
That's how desperate people are now to get out the vote. So how do we get out the vote?
I mean, I never really looked at it like that, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely see your point. I mean, the thing is, people need to think that they matter, right? It goes back to that, the respect. And, the Electoral College, some people think it's completely unfair, but they want, a mass vote of the people, right? They want to just say, hey, whoever's got the most vote wins. Go back to the Federalist Papers. Look at them. It was never meant to be that way.
They're thick as shit, too.
Oh, yeah.
Never
There's
read
a lot
them.
Of I've actually read.
I'm proud of you for reading them.
I've read every Federalist paper, and I've tried to point my kids because I mean, if you think about Madison, you know, some of the greats of the founding fathers, like those are letters to communities and to newspapers and to organizations of basically detailing why they're doing what they're doing. It was never meant to be a majority vote. It was never meant to be that way. Like, and I can't obviously, you know, I wouldn't want to misquote any of the papers and try to say, oh, it's Federalist Paper 66, you know, but I encourage people to read them, and they'll get the point of view. Like they always say that, oh, you know, the United States wasn't founded on biblical principles and morality. I'm like, what? 10 out of the 13 colonies were, what were they, Pentecostal or you know, they were Christian, right? Mm-hmm. You actually couldn't be a part of those colonies unless you were. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, so when the founding fathers actually formed those documents, they were, you know, placing the morality on paper that, you know, people shared back then, right? It was a moral principle that people shared, that, you know, they put on paper, and it was, you know, said by one of the founding fathers, like, this is going to work if you believe in this, right? Not to say you got to be a Christian to believe in America, but saying if you believe in these moral principles and these values, it will work. But once you go outside of the morality of, you know, what the Declaration of Independence, you know, the founding, you know, the documentation for the Federalist Papers, if you get outside of those founding ideologies, those founding ideas, it's not going to work anymore, because people are going to do nothing but challenge it. And I think that that's what you're seeing now. It's like we've gotten so far away from, and you don't have to be a Christian to know that biblical principles are good. Like, I mean, if you look in the Quran, Jesus is mentioned in the Quran as a good guy, you know, as a moral figure, right? And so when you think about the morals and principles of in the teachings of Jesus Christ, you know, and I won't get, you know, too far in my faith with this, but they're good. Yeah, they're good, and they're, you know, it's all about respecting each other and life, and you know, being honest and being, you know, valued, like showing other people that they are loved and valued. And yeah, so that's, you know, something that I think we've gotten away from the principles that make it work.
You're right. I think that creating more small groups, and that's what we're going to be trying to do with the Slavic community, is creating more small groups where they inform voters, because they're coming in, they're getting told, if you don't vote Democrat, you'll lose all of your your privileges and everything else. Yeah. As soon as they get to the country. And so some guys are like, yeah, we should sit them down in groups like Bible study, but instead of the Bible, we're going to read the Federalist Papers, and we're going to teach you why it's important to vote. Yeah. Why your vote matters.
Absolutely. There's people that are coming here that are immigrants that know more about American history than the kids that are born here.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange?
Yeah. We've gotten away from a lot, and I think that it starts in the classroom. It starts with parents. It starts with, you know, teachers. But how do we get back there? Like, that's the big question, is like, how do we get back? And not to say we need to get back to being a biblical country, being, you know, getting back to a one nation under God, which we are, you know, in my perspective, in my mentality, my thought process, but that's me, like, right? And other people I know are not Christian, and I understand that, and I respect the person for it. But when can we get back to just noting that the moral principles that we were founded on are good, right? Mm-hmm. Where do we go back to that? And it starts, I think, with, like you're saying, education. And I think that we need to bring it back in schools. You know, we need to bring back the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, why am I even pledging allegiance to a flag of the United States of America? Like, why? Why am I doing it?
Do they not now?
I mean, from what I understand,
I'm not surprised if they don't, but
from what I understand is there's a lot of school districts out there that don't require it anymore.
I'm not surprised.
You know, they've taken kind of the patriotism of being a U.S. citizen out of being a U.S. citizen. But I think that that's also why, you know, on college campuses throughout the country, why you're seeing what you're seeing, right? It's like, man, like, I don't care if you're, you know, if you're Palestinian, if you're this, like, how can I love you? Like, how can I respect you? Like, how can I, you know, but again, it's that two-way street. It's that I can't demand something of you and you can't demand something of me. It's we have to respect each other in the spot that we're at. And they don't anymore, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, you know, political nature, I think, is just, it's driven that wedge so far that where you're either going to have to be over here or over here. We need to get back to the middle. Like, that's just the bottom line of it, right? And I think that when it comes time to, like, our kids, education, like, let me educate my kids at home for all the stuff that I should be educating them on, right? You don't need to put it in schools. You don't need to put, you know, everything in there. It's not a teacher's job to teach. It's my job to teach my kids. It's their job to assist me in teaching my kid. And but overall, it's my responsibility to teach, you know, my kids, and be it math, this, you know, any subject. Like, it's we pride ourselves on a family for our kids, you know, being intellectuals, because it started from an early age where we challenged them, and you brought that up earlier. You know, we challenged our kids early on. We didn't just sit them in front of a TV screen. Not to say there's, you know, we did do that to my second oldest son, but he was watching, you know, baby Einsteins, like colors and that. Like, if he was in front of a, you know, TV, he was learning, like he was getting something out of it, type of deal. But yeah, I just think at the end of the day, you know, we need to get back to being Americans.
Yeah, well, we're running close on the hour, so 2 questions.
Oh, absolutely.
First question, book recommendations. Books that you think are cool, that you've been reading, that people should read. So
I'm a business nerd, all right? And it's Who Not What. That's actually the name of a book. You know, it's Who Not What. It's, you know, not how you are going to do something. You know, it's who can do something else within your organization, type of deal. You know, it's such a great book. And I hope that I'm even pronouncing it. From what I remembered, like, I get so involved with, you know, business books, and, you know, trying to learn about people, and, you know, how I can do better, how I can do more, how I can, you know, grab the resources that I have and do, you know, far more with it. But I mean, other than that, like, I read the news. I hate to say that, but I read it I'll go to CNN, I'll go to Fox, I'll go to every single news organization out there, and I'll form my own opinion on stuff, right? So I highly suggest people read news. And it's kind of, my kids hate it, but I get everybody's point of view from every side at that point, and I get to form my own decision. I'm not just sticking with Fox News. I'm not just sticking with this. But other than that, like, I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of, you know, business stuff. Like, just like I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, that's all I think about 24/7. Drives my wife insane, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're just hyper focused on money. Like, no, I'm just hyper focused on business. You know, I'm infatuated by, you know, how a city's ran, how a government's ran, how, you know, an entity's ran.
Business is government. Yeah, government is business. We are the government.
I wish it was a better operated business half the time. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So what about you? Any book recommendations you have?
Right now I've been reading Keynesian economics. Yeah. But I've been getting into it. But we're running on the hour. But the last question, probably most important one: where can people find you?
Everywhere. I mean, honestly, I'm everywhere. Like, I coach my kids' sports. I'm a business owner. I'm active with my guys. Like
website.
Website. Right now, our websites are actually being redone, but business-wise, it's, pnwsolarsolutions.com is one of our companies. The other one is Casera Homes, CaseraHomes.com, and that's actually Kasera for Casera. And then, I'm on social media. I'm everywhere on social media. You can find me on the City of Airway Heights' website.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Get in contact with me there, especially for questions within the city and whatnot. But yeah, I'm around. And, if anybody wants to hit me up, just DM me on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. Like, that's, I think I don't even know what my Instagram is anymore. It's like LCB509 or something like that. Or LMB, one of the two. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just, find me. Like, my email is public record for the city. Like, if somebody wants to get a hold of me, I'm out there.
Yep. Well, there you guys have it. We're going to have those links in the video description below. That is Larry Bowman. Larry, thank you for coming on the podcast. And,
absolutely, man.
And kicking ass and telling your cool stories and motivating the world.
It's been a blessing. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for even having me on. It means the world.
Absolutely. Anytime. And we'll have to talk more in the future. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and smash that bell. Bye.